For many people, productivity has become synonymous with working faster and harder. But actually, research shows us that hurrying and rushing through our tasks and our lives is not the most productive, nor the most fulfilling way to go about it. Today, we're going to be talking about a concept that's been gaining popularity over the past few years, the concept of hurrying slowly. This phrase might seem like a bit of a paradox at first, but it's actually a really powerful tool for gaining success and happiness in our fast-paced world. So in this video, I'll share some new research with you on the powerful effects of slowing down, and I'll give you some practical tips for implementing it in your own life. So whether you're a busy professional, a student, or you're just looking to improve your productivity and well-being, this video is for you. Let's dive in and discover the power of slowing down. I'm Camilla, I'm a psychologist, and I'm on a mission to spread mental health awareness and to make better mental well-being available to more people. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for weekly psychological insights, tips, and tools to help you on your way to improving your mental well-being. We all know that feeling of rushing to complete tasks, juggling multiple responsibilities, and striving to achieve our goals quickly. In a culture that often values productivity and achievement above all else, it's really easy to get caught up in this hurry mentality and to feel like we need to be constantly on the go. But what if I told you that slowing down could actually help you achieve more? It may seem counterintuitive, but the idea of hurrying slowly has really gained popularity in the last few years as a way of increasing productivity, creativity, and well-being. By taking the time to focus on what really matters and embracing a more deliberate, intentional approach to work and life, you may find that you're able to achieve more in less time and feel better in the process. Hurry slowly is a term that encourages us to slow down and take our time, even in situations where we feel under pressure to rush. In fact, maybe especially in those situations where we feel under pressure to rush. See if you've recognized this experience that one of my clients shared with me last week. He told me that the more pressure he feels under, even if he's experiencing clear stress symptoms, the more he'll speed up and push himself. He said that he would tell himself things like, "Come on now, just get over it, just get it done." But at the same time, he also saw that his actions and his behaviors in getting the task done got less and less deliberate and also less and less effective. My client works as a carpenter and he gave me this example. He said that if he's feeling under severe time pressure and he can feel the stress build, he'll try to rush more. But then he'll often see that rather than getting all his tools and materials ready before starting a task, he'll end up having to make multiple trips back for tools and materials that he forgot in the first place. He knows that this is wasting a lot of time, and he'll find himself getting increasingly frustrated with himself that he couldn't get it right in the first place. And then he describes entering this state of mind where he'll try and cut corners and rush as much as he can, which is in turn making it much more likely for him to make mistakes. So my client has clearly seen the downside to not planning ahead and not taking the time to plan and get his tools and his materials together before he starts. Yet something in him is pushing him and making him go faster, even if he knows it's not the most productive or effective way to work. So let's try and break it down and see what's likely happening in this case. First, let's look at why we as people are inclined to try and hurry and rush through something like my client describes, even if we know it's not the most effective. As I see it, there are cultural and societal factors on one hand, and there are psychological and evolutionary factors on the other hand. Societal and cultural factors play a significant role in our compulsion to move quickly. We're bombarded with messages about the importance of productivity, efficiency, and achieving success quickly. We're encouraged to multitask and cram as much as we can into our days. On top of that, we're constantly connected to technology, which can make it really difficult to disconnect and slow down. Now let's look at the psychological and the evolutionary factors that may also drive us to rush. The brain's reward center is activated by the adrenaline that's released from the rush of hurrying, giving us a temporary feeling of satisfaction. Unfortunately, this type of satisfaction is often short-lived and it can be followed by stress and burnout. If we think of it from an evolutionary perspective, back in our caveman days, when we were faced with a stressor, that would typically be a truly life-threatening situation. For example, being chased by a tiger. In that case, the most sensible response to the stress is literally to run faster to save your life. The problem is that even though the stress response that we see today is largely the same stress response as the caveman would experience, the stresses that we face or the stressful situations that we faced are typically very different. Nowadays, our stressors tend to be much more long-term, and some people experience them as almost constant. We're constantly under pressure to meet deadlines, complete tasks, and make quick decisions. Time is a finite resource, and we often feel like we don't have enough of it. This type of pressure can lead to stress, anxiety, and burnout. When we feel like we have too little time, we're more likely to make impulsive decisions and to engage in risky behavior. When we feel like we have more time, we're more likely to make better decisions and to be more deliberate in our actions and behavior. The reason for this can also be found in our biological stress response. I do have a full video about the biological stress response and what we can do to regain our cognitive abilities when we're hijacked by a stress response. I'll link that in the end card if you want to know more about it. But in short, what happens when we're hijacked by this stress response is that the body mobilizes a lot of energy out to the muscles to engage in the fight, flight, freeze response. What we see at the same time as this physical mobilization is a decrease in cognitive abilities. So our cognitive abilities are things like planning, thinking clearly, being sensible, being deliberate, basically all the functions that we typically need in our modern day stressful situations. So you see, the more stressed we get, the poorer our decision making and our planning abilities and our deliberate actions will be. This is where hurrying slowly comes in. By taking time to slow down, we can reduce our stress levels and become more deliberate in our actions. Research has shown that slowing down can actually increase our creativity and our problem-solving abilities. When we give ourselves time to step back and reflect, we allow our minds to make new connections and generate new ideas. By the way, I'm being told that simply liking a video really helps a YouTube algorithm and can help the video be seen by more people who might benefit from seeing it. That would really help me in my mission to make better mental well-being available to more people. So if you have taken any value from this video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd give it a like. I attended an annual stress conference last week, and one of the pieces of new research that was being showcased was an experiment of introducing more focus and reflection time into the workday. During the experiment, the participants were asked to set aside 5 hours every week in the work calendar for the duration of the experiment of 5 weeks. So that's the equivalent of around 1 hour every working day if you work a 5-day work week. Interestingly, but maybe not surprisingly, every single participant objected to this and said how it was simply not possible to block out a full hour of their workday for reflection and focus time. But because they were taking part in this experiment and the management was all behind it, they managed to do it anyway. So during this reflection and focus time, they had to switch off all communication, so their emails, their phones, any chat functions they had available in the workplace. And they had to simply focus on doing one task that required their full attention. As part of the experiments, the participants also had to take some time out every morning to plan ahead for the day. Just 5-10 minutes to get a plan together and ask themselves these questions. 1. What is my most important task today? 2. Is it realistic that I can achieve what I have planned for the day? 3. Are there any tasks today that require that I give them a full attention and focus while I solve them? And finally, 4. Are there any tasks that I should dump, delegate, move, clarify, or handle right now? During the experiment, the participants were equipped with smartwatches that could track both their stress levels and their energy levels. Over the course of the 5-week experiment, all participants showed a significant decrease in stress levels and a significant increase in energy levels. They further described that they'd get more done within the work time and that the quality of the work they delivered was actually higher. One participant described how it was a real eye-opener, realizing that a task could actually be done in 1 hour if you focus on it, whereas maybe normally she'd go to and from the task and the task completion would stretch throughout a full day, with all the interruptions that she'd face throughout the day. So in summary, the combination of taking time to fully focus on a single task at a time and taking the time out to plan the day and the tasks ahead of time so that you can be truly deliberate in your work and your actions led to great results for both the business's performance and the individual's well-being. So if the goal of productivity is to achieve more and live a more fulfilling life, then the paradox of productivity suggests that slowing down and taking a more balanced approach is the key. Slowing down can be incredibly beneficial for our productivity and our well-being. When we take the time to think things through, we're more likely to make informed decisions and to come up with creative solutions. Slowing down can also help reduce stress and anxiety as we're not rushing from one task to the next. So in summary, some of the key benefits of slowing down are: 1. improved focus and concentration. When we're not constantly rushing around, we can give our full attention to the task at hand. This can lead to greater productivity and better results. This was one of the things we heard one of the participants say from the experiment that I mentioned before. The second benefit is achieving greater creativity and productivity. By taking the time to think deeply and reflect on our goals, we can come up with more innovative solutions and ideas. And it allows us to plan out our journey ahead of time, ensuring that we're doing things in the order that makes most sense. That way, we avoid ending up having to backtrack and redo things, like in the example with my client who had to keep going back to find his materials and his tools that he hadn't brought in the first place. By taking the time to plan ahead and be deliberate in our actions, we can actually save ourselves a bunch of time. And the third and final major benefit of slowing down is enhanced well-being and overall happiness. By slowing down and being more mindful, we can cultivate a sense of gratitude and appreciation that helps us feel more content and at peace. So how can you introduce and practice hurrying slowly in your life? I've got 5 tips for you today. Tip number 1, slow down your daily routine. Take a few extra minutes to enjoy your morning coffee and to have a leisurely breakfast. Instead of rushing to your work or your school, try walking or cycling if possible. Simplify your schedule. So instead of trying to cram as much as possible into one day, focus on the most important tasks and things that you want to achieve and give yourself plenty of time to achieve them. This is where the idea from the experiment that we talked about before might come in handy. Try taking 5 or 10 minutes every morning to plan your day. Ask yourself what the most important things you want to get done are and set out a plan of how you're going to achieve that. That will allow you to be much more deliberate in your actions and will avoid that experience my carpenter client described of having to make multiple trips because we didn't plan ahead. Tip number 2, practice mindfulness. Take a few moments every day to sit down quietly and focus on your breathing. You can also try out mindful exercises like body scans or mindful walking. Be present in the moment. Whether you're spending time with loved ones or you're working on a project, try to fully focus on that moment and that experience and avoid unnecessary distractions. Tip number 3, schedule regular breaks. It's really important that we take breaks throughout the day to stretch, move around, breathe, plan, and recharge our batteries. Even just a few moments of quiet reflection can really help us recharge and pick up where we left off with renewed energy. If we think of the case from a carpenter client, sometimes it can also be a really good idea if you're finding that you're not being deliberate in your actions and you can feel that you're not being very effective in how you solve a task, to actually take a moment to stop and reflect and plan your next steps. That way you can regain control and you can regain that feeling of being deliberate in your actions. This will not only feel better, it'll also make you more efficient at solving the task at hand. Tip number 4 kind of goes hand in hand with that. Spot it if you're hijacked by a stress response and you see yourself speeding up and rushing under the illusion that you'll get more done quickly if you do so. Take a moment to stop and remind yourself of the negative effects of rushing that we've covered in this video, and then take the time to regain your cognitive control, to plan and to be deliberate in your actions. Take the pace out of the situation. And finally, tip number 5, practice self-care. This is very much a general tip in terms of ensuring good mental well-being and keeping your stress levels down. Prioritizing a good self-care routine where you make sure that you're taking care of your physical and emotional needs is crucial for our mental well-being. This includes getting enough good quality sleep, exercising regularly to keep our bodies healthy and fit, and to prioritize doing things that you know are energizing to you. I've previously talked of this concept of balancing the demands and the resources in our life, and how important it is for our mental well-being. Essentially, for everything that requires and takes our energy, we need at least equal amounts of that gives us energy. This is how we maintain this balance between the demands and the resources that we have available, and this is how we ensure good mental well-being and keep our stress levels down. I really hope that this concept of hurrying slowly has given you some inspiration to slow down and be more present in your daily life. Remember, it's not about slowing things down to a snail's pace and being lazy. It's about finding the right balance between speed and mindfulness that works for you. Why not try out your own little version of the experiments that we covered earlier and see what effect it has on your well-being and your productivity? Try taking some time out every morning to plan your day and try introducing some of the tips that I've shared with you in this video. I'd encourage you to commit to it for a set period. For example, 5 weeks like in the original experiment. It would be a really good idea to log how you're feeling throughout your experiment so you can see if it's had any effect on your mental well-being. For example, you can write down your perceived stress level and your perceived energy level on a scale from 1 to 10 3 times a day. Once in the morning, once at the end of your workday, and once when you go to bed. See if there's any improvements in your scores across the experiment period. This is a good way of finding out what works for you and what you could continue with after the experiment period is over. I'd love for you to share your experiences in the comments section so they might inspire others. I upload new psychological content on this channel every single week, sharing psychological insights, tips and tools, all aimed at helping you improve your mental well-being. If that's interesting to you, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching this one. Take care and bye for now.